to forget some things to say during the video, like especially the video yesterday about road safety. I just forgot some things, but that's not the topic. But I just want to let you guys know, as I do these videos, I might miss a few things, so don't blame me for it. Now, our topic for today is how to buy successfully a vehicle for gig work that will not cost you a fortune, as well as how to maintain. I understand some of you like to buy a beaters and beat that thing to the hell, I guess, to the wrecking yard. Good for you. The majority of us might not have those skills, and it's not wise to go buy a new vehicle and just run that vehicle for your gig, unless you're doing it part-time and your main job actually paying you very well, where you can actually go and do that. Now, another part I want to actually mention is I'm doing about 1,200 miles a week. That's if I drive for 5 days. If I drive for more, that amount is higher, but we're going to use it since I'm planning to drive in a few from now only for 5 days. Let's say we're going to use it for statistics purposes, only 1,000 a week. 52 weeks, that's 52,000 miles. Now, majority cars in our environment of work will not last before major repairs. And thanks God, if that major repair still falls under warranty, at least it's good for you. But if it's not, now you actually have a major repair. So before any major repair, like replacing an engine, replacing a transmission, differential, some of those major things, cars will run about 80 to 150,000. But in your environment of work, especially if you're planning to do gig works for many years, you want to get a vehicle that actually will last you 5, 7, 10 years. And so you actually wanted to get a vehicle that actually can go 250, 300,000. And from my personal experience, those are Toyotas. Corolla, Prius. With Prius you need to know a few things for it to run actually that long. And I'm referring to the battery, the main battery. So, as we kind of got through that, and so, as I talked, for me it's a 52,000. For those that are driving to city to drive, you guys probably somewhat in my situation. Now, for the rest of you, you probably live in town and you probably don't drive 200 plus miles a day. So your expense probably looking to be for a full day around, I would say, 25,000 miles a year. Now, if you're only doing a dinner shift, you might be actually doing between 10 and 15,000 a year. So those are also numbers for you to consider when you're going out and buying the vehicle. Second, since you are doing this, and I'm primarily mostly going to be talking to the full-timers, and I'm going to, and the simple question is to you, instead of driving that beater, don't you deserve running for 10, 12, 14 hours, actually driving in a good, decent, nice-looking car, presentable car, treating yourself to that nice car? I personally believe all of us that are actually doing this full-time, we deserve that. But going out and buying that new car might not be a wise idea, especially if you're talking about buying a Corolla or a Camry. Camry for a gig work, unless it's a certain type of gig work that requires extra space, wise decision. Get something small to be economical, but at the same time, like if you're doing food delivery, that all your food can fit in the vehicle if you get that big, huge order. I'm a Prius guy. Been a Prius guy for over 10 years now. They treated me nice. My first Prius car sold it over over 400,000 miles on it. So, kind of learn a few things when you drive that much. Now, when you go out to a dealer, and I hope things have not changed much relating to purchasing a used vehicle compared to a new one, other than there's just a shortage of those. So what you want to go into a dealer and you want to look for a car that has been returned from a lease. Car that is about 3 to 5 years old. And here's a reason why buying a used car that is 3 to 5 years old from a lease compared to buying a new car. The new car, you have to come back, every certain miles, have a vehicle checked. Every issue that the vehicle could have, you have to bring it in, and they don't pay you for your time. So you have to bring in that vehicle, get those issues fixed, and it's everything tipping into your time. When you're buying the 3 years vehicle, most likely that customer under a lease have actually brought that vehicle in. They already resolved all those problems. Right? You're having less problems. Yes, you might have some cosmetic problems, something's broken there and that. So, but overall, your that vehicle's already went through the break-in. It already has maybe 20, 30,000 miles on it. And you do not want to get a 70, 80,000 miles vehicle. You want to actually get a vehicle that's something around 20, I would probably say not even 20, around 30 to 50,000, somewhere in that range. Now, when you go into a vehicle to the dealer, first talk about that vehicle. Talk about the bottom dollar amount that you actually can get that vehicle for. Only then introduce your trade-in. That's if you have one. If you don't, then proceed with it. But focus on getting a vehicle that actually will meet your needs, will last long, and Toyotas have been proven for me not to break and last long time. So, I don't get anything from Toyota just by talking about Toyota. I'm just talking about because my experience. You guys might say, hey, Hondas are good too. I'll tell you guys the one problem with the Honda. It uses a rubber timing belt. And because of that rubber timing belt, you're going to have to replace it around 90,000 miles. And I learned one thing. You let a mechanic get under the hood, he'll stay under the hood for the rest of the vehicle's life. See, replacing the timing belt requires replacing a pump. But replacing a pump is not usually a problem. The problem is, not always high quality parts are being used. Also replacing the seals. And some mechanics, when they go in to replace seals, they create a scratch on a shaft, which will damage that seal, and that new seal, if it replaced, it will start leaking. That's a problem. Now, you have another problem. When they put a timing belt on, some mechanics will over tension it, give a little bit more tension than it needs, which will start hearing some weird noises eventually on bearings, which will start taking bearings out. Or maybe not enough of tension, and eventually your cam will slip, and if the engine is not designed, not anti-cam, I don't know what it's called, where it can bend the valves, then you're going to have actually cylinder head problem that you need to do. So, I used to be a Honda guy, but because of the 90K issue that I just explained, I'm no longer dealing with Hondas. Because at 90,000, that's when your problems starts. So, go out, and then, when you get to the price that you like on a vehicle, then talk about any repairs that you want them to do, any replacement of parts you want them to do, or maybe getting the windows tinted, and make sure that all those features are reasonably priced, added on top of the vehicle, if they're not willing to do for the price of the vehicle you already agreed on. So now, Let's say you got a 30,000 mile 3-year-old vehicle. You got it for about a half the price, if not even cheaper, than the new vehicle. Usually the 3-year vehicle, because of the lease and how much the customer paid over years, they usually are below half the price from the new. And they're actually usually lower than the Blue Book price. At least that's how it used to be before the pandemic. So now you got a nice vehicle, you got it for a nice price. Maybe you paid it cash, maybe you took it out on a loan. Of course, if you can, I would recommend a cash, but it's up to you. Especially, if you can get a really, really cheap APR, maybe it's a good thing to, take it on a loan and have that cash go and earn your interest at higher percent. But if your interest at 6%, yeah, and you have some cash, try to put as much as you can towards it, so you can pay less on the interest. Now you got that vehicle. There are things you need to focus on. First of all, you need to focus daily on your oil, because our driving as delivery drivers are not friendly to the vehicle. We have to hit the gas sometimes to the floor. We have to hit the brakes to the floor sometimes. And it's a harsh type of driving on a vehicle. And earlier or later, no matter what kind of vehicle you buy, it will start using oil. So you do want to actually check your oil level regularly. And if it starts getting to the lower level, you want to add oil. Now, because it's a newer vehicle, and these days, especially if we're talking about Toyotas, I use a high synthetic 25,000 mile oil. Castrol, you might go with the Amsoil. That's the very expensive oil that you can buy only off of people have hands and not available in regular stores. So that Amsoil actually, it burns, so it's gonna feel like it's using oil when in reality actually it just burns, so you end up having to add all the time oil. So keep that in mind when you're talking about that oil. So sometimes I don't have access to the oil, I'll use Castrol, but I'll use the high-end stuff. Sure, I actually have a bottle that I can show you guys. So this is the stuff I use. 20,000. I have actually a couple bottles I just recently bought because I do add it to my vehicle about once a week, a quart of oil. But I have almost 200, barely, just a couple miles short of 200,000 miles on the vehicle I use right now. So check that oil, add that oil when you need it. Now, I want to talk about, things like windshield fluid in the winter, especially. Keep all that checked and at the levels you need it. But I want to talk about your tires, your suspension. A lot of people are like, oh, my tires vibrate. Oh, it's not a problem. See, when you hit the pothole and the inside of the rim is the most softest part and easiest to bend, you'll start feeling something weird going down the road. You might have a bad quality tire. The tires that you get with a new vehicle, they usually don't last long. And if that any kind of a vibration that you have on a wheel, on a tire, it transmits throughout the whole vehicle, but especially puts in high pressure on that suspension side, where that wheel, that bent wheel or that bubble, whatever the unbalanced tire is at. And if it's not addressed fast enough, it will start damaging your ball joints and any other type of joints. So maybe 70, 80, $200 if you can buy a new rim. That's going to cost you to replace that rim quickly. Right now, you're going to run yourself into a situation. You will start replacing ball joints and the suspension, etc., struts, and actually can lead you into a couple hundreds, if not even to $1,000 expense. And do we want to have that issue on a 4, 5, 6 year old vehicle that we use daily for work? I'm driving a vehicle from 2010 Prius. It's actually one of the most problematic years on Prius that they actually built. But I went in and I replaced those parts from a 2011, from the year where they actually resolved those problems. So now I actually have a vehicle, 2010 vehicle, with no 2010 problems. Like my hybrid battery. It went out at 90,000 miles. I went out and I actually bought a hybrid battery of a 2011, put it in here from a wrecking yard. And since then, I have not been having problems with the hybrid battery since then. So, if there is problems, try to see if you can resolve them, especially if you can resolve them under warranty. Which, I bought the vehicle was not under warranty at that point already. Because I bought it with 80,000 miles on it. 70 or 80, I don't remember, something like that. And it was a 5-year lease return. So, I'm talking about from experience buying this vehicle, and I'm talking about as I put miles on this vehicle, as I put miles on my previous Prius. The previous Prius, I bought it at 50,000. It was hit in the back. I took a hammer and a 2x4 and I straightened it all out right on the parking lot. It was so easy of a damage. Replaced the taillight, replaced the rear lid, replaced the bumper. That was all I needed to replace on the vehicle. And actually sold it at 400-something thousand miles for someone else to actually finish her off. So because when tires vibrate, they put that vibration on those ball joints, and those ball joints are a limit to how much abuse they can take before they actually start having problems. So definitely focus on, listening to your car, listening to an issues and resolve it. Like for me, where I finished up just right now, I have 3 spare. I actually went out to the wrecking yard and I bought a couple spare wheels from a vehicle like mine. And I already used 2 out of those 4, and I still have 2 more good wheels at home ready to be used just in case. Because when we drive around, sometimes we just don't notice those potholes. We do not notice something, and we go through it, we damage those wheels. Now, yes, some of those wheels can be fixed. Most of the time, it's too expensive to fix it, or there's not even a shop nearby that actually would fix it for a reasonable price. And, it's cheaper. Like I paid, I don't know what, around $70 a wheel. There's nowhere will be able to find someone that actually can remove those bends for $70. So that's something to consider. Good quality tires. I have been to a lot of different tires in my lifetime. And the tires that actually do the best is Michelin tires. So, try not to buy a new Michelin release if they just release a new tire within the first year of their production, because they will come with defects, and a lot of these places refusing to replace those tires with a defect. I learned my lesson when Michelin switched at Costco from 90,000 to the 80,000 mile tire. and I bought their first production. I was actually traveling across the country, and you know, first falls of winter snow was falling in different areas, and I needed a safe tire because my tires were not safe. So I went in. They said they no longer have the 90 discontinued. They just got that 80,000. I made a mistake. I put it on. For 4 years, I was going to Costco to get it, for get them to fix the two tires that actually were bad. They were vibrating. I replaced the wheels on. I did whatever they told me, and it still was vibrating. And they said there's no problem with the tire. So eventually, I actually just got pissed, and I said, "Hey, this tire and this tire, I'm paying new money with new installation. Just replace it." Because at one point I just had enough, because I did not want to destroy my suspension. Be honestly, for those 3 years that I've been going to Costco, I was avoiding driving the car because they would refuse to fix the problem that they sold to me. So eventually just replace the tires and it solved the problem. So guys, not sure if it's worth going to Costco in our field, because because it's hard for us to schedule an appointment, and then you have to, you know, not take certain deliveries, because right now you have to be at Costco a certain time. But so I will be switching to another company that actually still takes drive-ups instead of appointments. But tires is something that will destroy your suspension if you won't take care of them properly. So please do so. Other than that, you know, keep your car, you know, wash it at least once a week. Clean it inside the vehicle. Make it, you know, look where it's actually presentable to you and to the client that you're pulling up to. That's about it. You know, if you wash your car will be looking good and will actually extend the life of the clear coat of the vehicle and so on. So, you know, those things are needed, as well as, you know, keeping the car clean inside. It will look newer for a longer period of time. So I hope I covered two topics: purchasing the vehicle and as well as maintaining your vehicle in a way that actually will make sense, in a way that actually you will understand, because most drivers out there, they ignore the problem with the tires, especially with the vibration of the tires. And then, you know, 20, 30, 1,000 miles later, they're like, "Oh, I had to replace the whole suspension." Duh. If you would have taken care of the vibration problem, you would have not had to replace the suspension. Most of the suspension, unless there's a manufacturer defect, if you take care of it and you do not have horrible roads, those suspensions can last for half of the life of your vehicle, if not for the whole life of your vehicle. You know, of course, it depends on the road too, not just, you know, on that problem might have with the wheel or a tire. So guys, take care of your vehicle. Check that oil. Make sure that everything runs. Change your oils regularly. Like I was talking about my oil, the 20,000. I do not go the full 20,000, but I will replace my oil somewhere between 10 and 15,000. So I also use 20,000 filter from Frame, but I do pull up to the place where they change oil and say, "Hey, around 8,000, 7,000, I say, "Hey, I need you guys just to swap this filter out for me. No oil change, nothing, just a filter swap." Usually they charge me $5-6. So, you know, a few things that you guys can do that will, you know, extend the life of your vehicle. Transmission change, oil changes, those needs to be done. Flushes of the brake pads if you're using pre and using B to decelerate. You want to actually do a flush at around 50,000 on your brake fluid to make sure that you extend the life of your master cylinders and brake cylinders. Very important on that as well. A lot of people will swap their brakes and they'll just push the cylinder back up and they push all the dirt back up the line, and that dirt destroys the cylinder. So instead of pushing the dirt up, if you're replacing the brakes yourself, unscrew that bleed hole, let that oil out. When you replace the whole four brakes, then actually also let the liquid bleed as you flip over the bottle of brake fluid, and make sure you're using the right brake fluid into your reservoir to make sure that you don't run out. So, just few things. Just make sure that is done. Transmission fluid based on your owner's manual. Um, if you're not doing a flush on a transmission fluid, it's just a drain and fill. Your first one you can do based on an owner's manual. All the rest of them have. So let's say they say in every 40,000 miles. So your first transmission flush, I will do at 40,000. But every one after is 20,000 later. So at 60, at 80, at 100, at 120, at 140. That's if you're doing just a drain. But if it's a flush, they do it according to the owner's manual. What else I might have missed? Make sure you're comfortable in the vehicle. Do some adjustments that will better your performance at your work as well as your comfort. Because those of us that do full day, we're in that vehicle for majority of our light hours. And, take care of that thing. Make sure, it is comfortable for you. Guys, I'm already in Lexington. And this has been a 27-minute video. I hope some information in this video will be helpful to you guys. And most of all, the career, in addition to your full-time job, or maybe you're trying to create something new or whatever it is, and it's involved driving your vehicle a lot, will help you. This video will help you make those right decisions, taking care of your vehicle, buying that vehicle at a good price. And some of you, here's a little tip: if you bought that vehicle at, let's say, at 30, 40, 50,000, 3 years old, you use this for your gig work, let's say part-time, that means you put on it, probably you brought that vehicle to 70, 80,000. If you turn around and you bought it for a good price, because the lease return, they're usually cheaper than the price used to be. If you bought it for a good price, you can turn around and sell it for almost the same price you bought it, with very little damage to your financial situation. But at the same time, that vehicle has made you some money. Blessings to every single one of you, and I'll be back tonight with a dash along video.